Hello EFD squad and welcome back to the UCL review. This week it's me and Doogie Critchley and we are covering all the big games from the Champions League. A relatively quiet night in the Champions League, but Tottenham seem to get a result that they deserve.
Yes, yeah. It sort of kept alive their faint hopes of qualification because they won 2-1 over PSV at Wembley, thanks to two pretty late goals, really. And they got off to an absolute disastrous start. PSV captain Luke de Jong scored a powerful header from a corner after just 61 seconds. And Pochettino named a very attacking lineup for this game. He had Eriksen, Ali, Son, Lucas Moura and Kane starting from the start.
Wow.
And they carved out numerous opportunities in the first half, but struggled to find a way past Zoot, who was inspired in the PSV goal. He made a great double save from Eriksen and Ali in the first half and made 7 saves overall.
Jesus, that Lucas Moura one. There's one where Lucas Moura beats about 10 guys
and
on his way
then
to
dribbles
goal.
And falls through and then
It's
keeps
mental.
on kicking it.
I genuinely, it's the kind of game where if you're a fan, you're like, we could play this game for 100 years and we'd never score.
Yeah.
Until they did.
Until they did in the later on though. Kane got the equaliser from a Llorente knockdown, who'd actually only come on 3 minutes earlier.
What a
and
signing.
I believe that's probably his first goal involvement since about 2010. So well done, Llorente. And then he got a header which took 2 deflections, quite brutally, the final one of Trent Sainsbury.
Trent Sainsbury was
The
in our
Aussie.
worst Champions League 11.
I saw that.
I stand by that.
You hate him.
Eat it, Trent. How do you like them apples, you knob?
There we go. The Aussie getting that crucial final deflection in the 89th minute, and that secures Spurs' first UCL win of the season in Game 4. That's crazy. And they now have a glimmer, I'm only saying a glimmer of hope.
What do they have to do to go
So, if they beat Inter Milan next time by 2 goals, or a scoreline better than 2-1, they then travel to Barcelona, and if they better Inter's result against PSV, they'll go through. I wouldn't say that's got a high chance of happening.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
But Pochettino is feeling pretty optimistic for the first time in months, and he had this to say on the matter.
I think the belief is still there, and you know me, I am so optimistic, and now is to be focused on Saturday, of course, but talking about Champions League is about to be focused in Inter de Milan, and I think we were so close to win the game. I think we deserve more in Milan. I think we played better than them. I was a little bit unlucky in the situation that we conceded, but I think we can beat them. I am so optimistic. If we are capable to beat them, sure that the percentage to be on the next stage will be higher.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really get his optimism. I think that you've got to beat Inter, clearly, and then get a better result.
They can do that at Wembley.
Yeah, that's fine. But then you've got to get a better result away at Barca.
And PSV don't look like doing much
Than Inter get against PSV. PSV is shocking. Like, we were talking recently about how good they are in the Eredivisie, and there were times in this game where they were decent in attack. You know, they almost got a second goal quite late on, like slipped through.
It's a good save from Gazzaniga.
It is a good save from Gazzaniga, but I was still kind of like, this team is dreadful. They couldn't stop anyone. There's a chance that Ali gets, where he just runs in behind, and the defence is almost like in a reverse horseshoe.
Yeah.
So the centre backs are really far up, and the full backs are really far
Basically
behind.
saying, open.
We're
open.
You're
We're
on
open
side.
for business.
Feel
Come
free
on
to be on side. Lucas Moura was just beating guys for fun. Harry Kane seemed to get space in the box whenever he wanted it. Harry Kane had 8 shots in this game,
Crazy.
and Tottenham had 30, their most ever in a Champions League game. 17 of those came from within the penalty area. 4 from within the 6-yard box.
Fair play.
This is not a recipe for an away win against Spurs. It's actually only the second time they've won a game in which they were trailing at half-time in the Champions League. The other one was when they beat Borussia Dortmund last November. Now, that was an undeserved victory.
Yeah, I was there for that, actually.
Yeah, I thought that they got the kicked out of them in that game and should have lost. A perfectly good goal was chalked off for offside. This game, yeah, frankly, if PSV had come out of it with anything, I think they could have considered themselves very lucky. They've won 11 from 11 in the Eredivisie. They've scored 39 goals, conceded just 4. But they're winless in their last 12 in the Champions League. 5 draws, 7 losses. Last win was against CSKA Moscow in December 2015.
God.
Is that good?
That's a long time ago.
Rubbish.
That's a long time ago.
Absolutely rubbish. They've only qualified to the knockout rounds once in the last 12 seasons. That was when they went into the last 16 against Atletico Madrid in 15-16. I think that went to pens, that game, to be fair.
I think that might be the year that Atletico then went on to the final as well. So they did all right that year, but 1 in 12.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's because, when you consider how many times they've won the league in that time as well, so it's not like they've been missing out, like Feyenoord have. I don't really understand.
But then Ajax did have that period of dominance as well. So
sure,
do you only get one
won,
automatic? You get one
20.
automatic spot for
and I
the
think,
Dutch side.
Yeah, and I think you get a second qualifier.
Okay, so they would have had plenty of times to qualify.
Yeah, and I mean, they're a very young team, so if they keep these guys together and they can improve, then there is the core of a decent side there. So they've got a 21-year-old defensive midfielder called Pablo Rosario. He won 2 aerial duels and made 9 tackles and interceptions, which, if nothing else, gives you a picture of how much work he was having to do to stop Tottenham just battering down the doors. For Spurs, the fullback's really, really good. Ben Davies, 3 tackles and interceptions, but 4 chances created, 4 shots, including the assist for the winner. Harry Winks, 90% pass accuracy, 5 tackles and interceptions, 7 key passes for Harry Winks.
7?
Harry Winks is a horrible defensive player. He has literally no idea where he's meant to be in order to stop players running
to watch
the
on the ball, though.
But that's the thing. If he's not on the ball, he's a disaster. I don't get all the love for Harry Winks at the moment because he's kind of like a worse Matteo Guendouzi at the moment, where his positional sense is all over the shop. But you hope that he adds enough in possession to make up for it. Obviously, he's also 3 years older than Guendouzi, so it's possible that with fitness and stuff, maybe he comes back into form. But this is the sort of game where I'd be like, we're going to have 60% of the ball. We're playing pubbers from the Netherlands. If Harry Winks doesn't have a good game tonight, then he should go to the Championship immediately.
Really interesting. So Pochettino played Eriksen alongside Winks deeper, and then played Ali just in front of them. And Eriksen, Eriksen looks great wherever he is on the pitch, but I really enjoyed him playing slightly deeper, spraying balls around, getting crosses into the box. He played really well. I don't know whether against easier sides in the Premier League, that's something that Pochettino could do, because his midfield, when it's Dyer, Winks and Dembele, it's just a bit pedestrian.
Well, they're going to have to find a way as well to get progression against bigger clubs who are going to press them too. So, for instance, the first time I saw Eriksen play CM was a couple of seasons ago when Spurs beat City 2-0 to end their winning run at the start of the season. And Eriksen played centre midfield that game, and he was just impossible to press for City. So you wonder as well, with Moussa Dembele kind of going down the pan and Harry Winks still kind of trying to play his way back into form, Eriksen might be the guy. But when you've got Harry Kane, when you've got Eriksen, you've always got a shot. Kane
100%.
has been involved in 15 goals in his last 14 Champions League appearances. And frankly, on the night, Spurs got the result they deserved. However, you're saying hello to the Europa League.
Right, next up, Liverpool had a horrible night in Serbia, Pato.
Yes, they got battered. They lost 2-0 to Red Star Belgrade. They're now level on points with Napoli, just a point ahead of PSG with 2 games to go. And obviously, those games include Napoli coming to Anfield and an away trip to PSG.
Which I believe is next, yeah.
Ooh.
Juicy.
I would love it if they dropped into the Europa. I would love it. I mean, it would mean that Arsenal would definitely not win the Europa. But it would be very, very funny because they're exceptionally smug. Anyway, Red Star were battered 6-1 in Paris, 4-0 at Anfield in the last 2 games. But at home, in the Rajko Mitic Stadium, they're actually pretty decent. They held Napoli to a goalless draw there. I think it's the only Champions League game this season Lorenzo Insigne has failed to score in. Now, Daniel Sturridge could have put Liverpool ahead in about 16 minutes, unmarked at the back post, gilt-edged chance.
Horrific.
But 13 minutes later, they were 2-0 down. The first one, amazing header from Pavkov, 6'4" striker. Real throwback stuff.
Big boy.
From a Marco Marin corner. Marco Marin got the assist.
Came up on StatWars the other day, Marco Marin. He's had about 12 clubs in the last 9 years.
Marco Marin, despite being German, is actually of Serbian ancestry. So I think that explains why he's gone to Red Star and seems to be making himself at home.
Fair enough.
Pavkov added a second in the 29th minute, out-muscled Wijnaldum, fired in a long-range beauty. Now, they were perfectly happy to let the Reds have most of the ball in the second half.
Indeed.
Liverpool had 80% of possession, hit the woodwork twice, but Red Star held on, 10th clean sheet in their last 15 European home games. Pretty amazing. Didn't keep one against Arsenal last season.
Knew that was going to come.
Just saying. Just saying. They've now won both of their European home games against Liverpool. They also won 2-1 in the first leg of their last 16 clash back in 1973. Fact.
Niche knowledge.
That's such a Doogie Critchley fact.
I love a bit of niche knowledge like that. You know, you can take that down to the pub or your playground.
That's barely knowledge.
Well, you know, I put it in there.
Okay.
So enjoy it while it lasts.
Go on, mate.
And that's what Liverpool are going to have to do with their Champions League campaign by the looks of things, because they are having a very indifferent start. They've already been kept goalless on 2 occasions, which only happened once in 13 games last year, in their run to the final, obviously. And they've lost twice, which is as many as they did in the whole of last year, which was the Roma second leg and obviously the final against Real Madrid. And they are normally very solid in group stages. They've lost as many games in the group stage this year as they have in their previous 11, winning 4 of those, actually, which is slightly bizarre, drawing 5 and losing 2. And I had a bit of a look at last year, and they battered teams in the group stages or drew. It was really weird. And they drew 4 out of, I think they drew 3 and won 3, but comprehensively beat those teams enough to go through. Their first shot on target in this game came in the 71st minute. This is Liverpool. That's crazy. And it continues their woes in front of goal because they didn't manage a single shot on target in their last away game against Napoli. But you've got to give some credit to the Serbian side. They had some strong performers. The previously mentioned Marko Marin, 29-year-old, used to play for Chelsea amongst other sides. He had 2 shots, 3 key passes, and provided 2 assists.
Nice.
Pavkov, who we already mentioned, he actually hadn't scored for Red Star before this season. But he made 4 tackles and interceptions, won 5 aerial duels, and scored with both of his 2 shots. And that second goal is well worth looking at if you haven't already seen it. Absolutely beauty. And it was a night to forget for Daniel Sturridge, who started ahead of Firmino, who's been in pretty iffy form so far this season. And this was a night where he could have cemented his place, but he missed that gilt-edged first 13th minute chance at the back stick, completely unmarked. The ball was spinning, but he ballooned it over the bar. He only completed 1 dribble and didn't get any of his 3 shots on target. And this is a bit of a disaster for Klopp. And I actually saw a really interesting fact on Rio Ferdinand's Instagram story yesterday, which says that Klopp actually has the lowest winning percentage of any top 6 manager in the UCL since August 2014. So that includes Wenger, Conte, Mourinho, Guardiola, Pochettino. I'm sure I've forgotten someone. Mourinho as well. And that's 54.2%. And admittedly, you've got to temper this in with they had quite a dog shit team for the first 2 years of his reign. So, of course, they lost quite a few games in Europe. But having reached the final last year, they don't actually have that good a winning percentage under Klopp. But maybe it's more of an anomaly stat. I don't know how much you can really take from that. But as Pato mentioned, it puts massive, massive pressure on Wednesday, the 28th of November, when Liverpool travel to PSG. Pato, how do you think that's going to go?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been that impressed by PSG, to be honest. We're going to go on to them in a minute, but Liverpool right now are dreadful, and I thought they were mostly outplayed.
They're getting away with it in the Premier League.
They were mostly outplayed by Arsenal the other day. I thought Firmino was horrific. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, if they're at the moment, James Milner is playing like a Superman, and he is having to. That is troubling. If you go away to the Parc des Princes and you're relying on Gini Wijnaldum turning into the greatest player in the world, it might happen, but I wouldn't bank on it. So, I don't know, man. Like, part of me just thinks Liverpool will still do it because, you know, it's just what I don't want to happen. So it almost certainly occur. But.
Fair. Pato, unimpressed. What do you guys think? Do Liverpool have a chance of progressing through to the last 16? Let us know your thoughts in the poll above, actually. Yes or no?
Ooh, poll.
Right, before we go into Napoli PSG, Pato, disastrous result for your old mate Thierry Henry last night.
Mate, he's
having a horrible time.
I know, it's hilarious.
It's not good.
It's so sad. I don't know. I feel fine about it because I thought it was stupid getting rid of Jardim. I thought it was stupid bringing on Henry. And so far, his team have been so bad. Like last night was actually
see the goals.
Last night was one of their better performances. They actually
Really?
had 15 shots and like 6 on target last night, which I think was the same number on target as Club Bruges, who were away in Monaco. They were playing a Belgian side at home, and they managed to lose 4-0. Like, it's staggering, really. But it is better than the weekend, where I think they had like 6 total shots, despite being up a man for 20 minutes. So maybe there are signs of life there, but oh my God, you look around that squad, he's playing Nasser Chadli in central midfield, and you just think, you know what,
God.
You deserve to get this
What
kicked
is it
out
with
of
Nasser
you.
Chadli? Why does Martinez and Thierry Henry think he's the answer?
Why
he's
does
just not.
Henry, after helping coach the Belgian side, does he just feel like he owes Chadli because they're mates? Because he should say to him, he's like, I'm really sorry, Nasser, but get out of the club. No one wants you here. You're dreadful. Like, I don't understand it at all, but I mean, if he doesn't work something out soon, then Monaco are going to be looking for their third manager of the season. But let's just move on. Let's just move on to Napoli PSG. One side kind of still finding their feet under a new manager. The other side seem to have already found it. But
yeah, they look great.
You'll decide which one is which at the end of this. Anyway, Napoli are top of Group C now. Fought back from a goal down to take a point at home to PSG. Now, in the first half, PSG were pretty dominant. They had nearly 60% of possession, which would have been unheard of in the Sarri days. And they got the only 2 shots on target of the first half, including the goal, which was Bernat stroking home from an Mbappe pass.
Bit of a collector's item,
Mbappe,
goal.
the 19-year-old, he's going to be 20 just before
He's
Christmas.
crazy.
He's now got 17 goal involvements in his last 18 Champions League games. That is pretty impressive. But they couldn't maintain it, and after the interval, they managed just 4 shots. Napoli had 13 in the second half. So they ended up outshot 20-9. And that's pretty amazing given that they normally take about 15 shots per game in Ligue 1. Before this, I think they were averaging something like 20 shots a game in the Champions League.
Wow.
So normally they
really good job
absolutely pepper teams, but in this game they could not. And Napoli pressure in the second half told in the 62nd minute. Callejon, who did look like he was offside in the build-up, ran into the box after a Thiago Silva kind of misjudgment, got cleaned out by Buffon, and gave away a penalty. That's the 9th penalty that PSG have given away in their last 13 away fixtures in the Champions League.
Not helping yourselves.
And of course, Insigne scored it. It ended up 1-1.
It's a really nice penalty, actually.
It's a fantastic penalty because Buffon gets the right way and it's still in the corner. But I mean, I don't know. This was a pretty enjoyable game to watch. There were some great performances in it, but I was far more impressed with Napoli than I was with PSG.
Yeah.
I think PSG is still struggling.
That first half, Mbappe, it's just his decision-making that I think is just so impressive. For such a young guy, he just always picks the right pass, and his pace is so dangerous. But the real spectacle in this game was the battle between Neymar, his great mate, and the Napoli destroyer, Alan. Neymar was actually incredible in this game. He completed 7 dribbles from 8 attempts and created 4 chances on the night, which was both a match high. But Alan's defensive performance, you'd guess from that he was struggling to keep up with Neymar. Not a bit. He made 8 tackles, over a third of his team's total. And you guys have been mentioning, I've listened to a few of the podcasts. You guys have been bigging up Alan a lot, so he's rewarded your faith. And it was also a night to remember for Marek Hamšík. He overtook Giuseppe Broloscolotti, get at me below with how you pronounce that, as the player with the most appearances for Napoli in all competitions, with 512.
Jesus.
Well done, Marek Hamšík. That's very, very impressive. Napoli are now unbeaten in their last 4 UCL games for the first time in their history. And they look favourites to go through, probably, from this group. As for PSG, Liverpool, I think it'll be a real dogfight to see who comes out second. And PSG, they may have started pretty well, but they did drop off pretty dramatically in that second half. And they've now only got 5 points from 4 games in the UCL this season. That's their lowest tally at this stage since 2004-05, when they had 4 points. So it's not looking too good for Thomas Tuchel's side in the Champions League, although that has to be tempered against the fact they've got a ridiculously difficult group this year.
Anyone could go through in this group.
It's exciting.
And whoever
Except
goes
for Red Star, probably.
Probably, yeah. But whoever goes into the Europa League from this group
will be favourites, probably.
All right.
Along with actually whoever
along with Arsenal
or Spurs.
No.
Well, it's going to be an absolute British dogfight down there in the
You love a
League
British
this
dogfight, don't you?
Proper Brexit.
Put on your
tangle.
flying goggles. Come on, boys. We're off to smash the Germans.
Proper Battle of Britain stuff.
So that's all we've got time for on UCL Review today. Obviously, check out the next episode, which will be on Football Daily tomorrow.
Yes.
And what should they do in the meantime, Dukes?
Well, come back tonight on Football Daily because we've got a live stream of Man United's visit to Turin, where Pato, Chris, and I think Zach might be on the sofa, and some others, maybe Temps. So a nice combo there. Make sure you come back at that. I think it will kick off at 7:45, 8? 8? Pato, you're loving the combo.
Nice combo.
And stay on EFD. Come back tomorrow because I am taking on McCubbin in Stat Wars The League.
Oh, heavyweight.
And we are in, we're the people that are probably putting most pressure on Pato at the moment. So can one of us keep a little bit of pressure on there?
Feel zero pressure.
Come back tomorrow. This guy, ice cool.
No pressure.
Come back tomorrow for that. Watch the live stream. Enjoy this. Like, comment, share. Exactly. All the rest of it.
This is such a long outro, mate.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.